The Auburn Tigers head to College Station to take on Texas A&M.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, this is a crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Aggies. I'm Zach Blackerby, the host of Locked On Auburn. He is Matt Galatzan, the host of Locked On Aggies. We'll give our prediction, who wins this thing. We'll also talk about the quarterback situation because I think there's more similarities than some of us might want to admit between Marcel Reed and Jackson Arnold. But obviously what's at stake here, Matt, the biggest storyline on the Texas A&M side going into this is what? I mean, you guys take down Notre Dame, you get the week off, and then Auburn comes to town. What are the vibes? What are people talking about going into this one?
Well, I think you kind of have to start with, is this going to be the classic Aggie letdown? I know a lot of Aggie fans are kind of tired of that narrative. But if you're ranked number 9 in the country and you're hosting an unranked team, you think that you should be able to take care of that. And granted, I think that, and we're going to talk about this obviously later, I think this is going to be a lot closer of a game than most people think. But it's just kind of stuck in Aggie fans' minds. Okay, is this the inevitable letdown that we're going to suffer this year for the poor 8-4 Aggies or whatever? So I think that's kind of the biggest thing here that is stuck there. And then also, can Texas A&M stop the run? Their defense was kind of exposed by Notre Dame. Auburn's offense is very, it's really built to beat Texas A&M in a way, I think. So those are just a couple of things that I think that, are really going to be worth paying attention to.
Yeah, I mean, I think A&M is a better team, but I do think the matchups in this are worth mentioning. I mean, you saw the way Mike Elko talked about Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton in his media availability earlier in the week. Like, A&M has to respect those guys. But when you look at what Notre Dame was able to do, I think Auburn's could be able to move the football on this. So if this turns into fireworks, which our friends at FanDuel are not really predicting, that over under a 52.5 is a little lower than I would have guessed going into this. I think both teams are kind of primed to put up points in this one.
I couldn't agree more. Jackson Arnold is the kind of quarterback that is just, built to give Texas A&M fits. They have a hard time with mobile quarterbacks. They have a hard time with stopping the run in general. And if you saw what Jackson Arnold did to Baylor, if you're an Aggie fan, you didn't watch that game, go back and watch that game.
He ran a lot.
Those are the kinds of, he ran it a lot. I think that's something they're going to try to get back to this week. If I was Hugh Freeze, at least I would try to get back to that so Jackson doesn't get sacked 9 times again. It's those receivers are, I mean, that's the best wide receiver group in the country, and Texas A&M struggles to stop the pass. So, and I'm pretty sure that Cam Coleman is Superman. I'm not.
He's very good.
It's not confirmed, but I'm pretty sure he's at least a candidate to be Superman.
Yeah, he's very good for sure. For sure. Yeah. So Auburn going to Norman last week. It was the first time an opposing defense has really forced Jackson to beat them with his arm, which is a little surprising to me. That's certainly how I would make Auburn beat me if that was the case. What do you expect Elko to do? Because I know you bring up, stopping the run being a problem. I mean, I've seen other A&M folks saying hey, there's questions in the defensive backfield as well. So how do you anticipate Elko trying to stop this offense?
Well, that's kind of the catch, isn't it? They kind of struggle in both areas, which is everybody talks about the Texas A&M offense and how explosive it's been and how efficient it's been and how hard it is to stop. The defense is kind of struggling in both areas. They're struggling on the back end. They're struggling to stop the run. I think that Jackson Arnold is much better equipped to beat you with his legs and his arm. And that's not a knock against his arm or his receivers, who I think is the best group in the country. I just think he's a really, really dang good runner of the football.
Yeah.
So if I'm Texas A&M, I have to stop that first and then make him beat me with Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton and prove that he can throw the football down the field at a consistent rate. Now, Texas A&M doesn't have the pass rushers that Oklahoma has. They don't have the defensive backfield that Oklahoma has. That really if you could put Oklahoma's defense on Texas A&M's roster, pretty much almost every player from that defense would start outside of like Torian York and like maybe one or two other guys. It's a much better unit in my opinion. So they're not going to be able to necessarily dictate any part of this game from a defensive perspective, in my opinion. But you have to try to stop Arnold's legs first and make him beat you with his arm, because if you're in College Station, I think that's going to have some sort of effect on his psyche as well.
Sure. 110,000, something crazy like that. I mean, a lot of people yelling at you. Is it 110 now?
It's somewhere around there, and
Okay.
when you're sitting in the press box there, you can feel the swaying, and it's really intense. It's
a great venue for college football for sure. Let me ask you this, because like the way you're talking about Texas A&M and then the way I see other people talk about Texas A&M, I have to I literally did this earlier in the week where I'm like, I'm not crazy, right? This is the 9th ranked team in the country, right? And they're not talked about in that way. Why is that?
I mean, there's fatigue, I think, in a sense, like with A&M fans specifically. They're tired of getting off to a hot start and then faltering later in the season, so they're not necessarily completely buying all the way in all the time.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of it is, it's kind of a prove it thing, because Texas A&M is one of those teams that, I mean, I think they started last year 7-1, and then they finished the regular season 8-4.
Right.
It's kind of the stigma. So people are like, okay, you beat Notre Dame, but how good is Notre Dame really? Well, Purdue just scored 30 points on Notre Dame, so how much does your 41 actually mean? I think they just need to see him do it a couple more times before they start to take them seriously in terms of an actual playoff contender. Like, not in terms of making the playoff, but contending to win the playoff. So I think that's part of it. And honestly, there's just not so what Oklahoma has working for it, for example, at least maybe not for the next 4 weeks, is a star quarterback to put their name behind, that makes them a national brand. A lot of these teams, you have to have a face of your team. And I don't know that anybody really knows who Marcel Reed is and who Mario Craver is quite yet. I think that they're going to figure that out over the next couple weeks. But, it's kind of a combination of a few things. And Texas A&M is a really good football team. They just have to kind of win over the rest of the country and prove it.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's talk about these quarterbacks in just a moment, because I've said it all week. I've said it for months on my show. Like, I am a Marcel Reed truther. I think he's really good. And I think Jackson Arnold has all of the upside in the world if he could just put it all together. These quarterbacks, I don't think, are too far off from each other. Now we'll get your thoughts on that in just a moment, right here on this crossover edition of Locked on Auburn and Locked on Aggies. Today's show brought to you by our friends at DoorDash. It's almost the weekend, Matt. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving you more every time you order. These players delivered when it matters most. Let's break it down. Matt, you go first on the A&M side. Who delivered this past week? Brought to you by DoorDash.
Well, they had a bye week this past week, but through the first 3 weeks, it has to be Mario Craver. He was, before his bye week, he was leading the nation in receiving. He is the first Aggie ever to start a year with 3 100-yard games. He's just been on a hot streak. It's been one of the best receiving performances that we've ever seen out of an Aggie wide receiver, period. So I got to go with Mario Craver there.
Yeah, I'll go with Cam Coleman. We'll stay on topic of wide receivers. As you mentioned, he might be Superman. The only way Oklahoma was able to cover him was to tackle him with the refs looking the other way. So I'll throw Cam Coleman out there. And just like these guys deliver for their teams, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Matt, the Aggies, a 6.5-point favorite. It's the second week in a row Auburn has been a 6.5-point dog on the road. We'll get our full picks in a moment, but your initial thoughts when you saw that line.
I'd probably take Auburn on the points. I think this is going to be a super close game.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
Hey, that's a gift for me if I'm picking Auburn.
Yeah, we'll jump into that more in just a moment. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel, your place to place your first $5 bet. I've said it all week. I believe in Marcel Reed. I think he's a really, really good college quarterback, Matt. But like, I think some of the arguments for both of these guys, you could say, like, I guess for both of them, like inconsistent, needs to hone in on, deep ball accuracy, really good with their legs. If they could just put it all together with their arm, they would be unstoppable. And when they're on, they're really, really hard to stop. I think both of these guys are in similar spots. Both of their teams went out and got, excellent wide receivers to help bolster their offense. And also, there might have been some questions, maybe not as much on the A&M side, about going into the season with what's the running game going to look like to assist these quarterbacks. And both of them have excelled with the running backs next to them. Moss with you guys, and then, Jeremiah Cobb with us. So I think like both situations are kind of similar. Is that crazy to say?
I don't think it's crazy. I think that Marcel Reed has one distinct advantage over Jackson Arnold.
Okay.
And that's his offensive line. You don't hear anything about the Texas A&M offensive line, which is a good thing because they're just not letting people through. They're blocking for him really well.
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold got sacked 9 times against the first SEC defensive line that he faced.
Yeah, like it looks bad, but I think when you look at the tape, I think it was more on Jackson than the O-line just for holding the ball too long.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, he had 3-4 seconds. Not on all of them. 9 sacks. It's going to be a lot wrong. It's not just one thing, but right. Don't look at the 9 sacks and think Auburn's O-line isn't good, because I think it's pretty solid.
Right. Well, I think that you can say Auburn's offensive line is good. What I'm saying is that Texas A&M's offensive line has been great.
I got it.
Yeah. And that's something that he didn't, I don't think a lot of people necessarily expected this year. We thought it was going to be good, but he's had all the time in the world to throw the football this entire year. And to his credit, he's cleaned a lot of things up. He's really cleaned up his footwork. He's become more deliberate with the way he throws the football. He's been accurate. But yeah, that's pretty much the only thing in terms of at least of offense that I can pick apart from these teams. Jackson and Marcel are extremely similar. I don't know what Jackson's psyche is like in a big game as compared to what it was when he was in Oklahoma to now. Like maybe he's improved there.
Yeah.
Marcel Reed that might be the other thing, and this is just me guessing. But I feel like Marcel Reed, compared to Jackson Arnold, is a lot tougher mentally in big situations. You saw him drive the football down the field against Notre Dame at Notre Dame to win the football
fourth
game.
Down, right?
Yeah, might have gotten away with a hold on the offensive line there on that final play, but we're going to pretend we didn't see that. But those are like some.
What is officiating at this point, right? Like, why even have them?
Dude, if I'm an Auburn fan right now, the SEC.
Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it?
That's the worst officiated game I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Auburn got absolutely.
I can't say that because then I look like I'm whining. So I'm glad that you said that.
You could pick out 4 or 5 different plays in that game that completely changed it, that the referees got wrong. We don't necessarily have to go down that road, but I'm Team Zach. The refs were terrible in that game.
I appreciate
Oklahoma just completely stole one.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, the question about Jackson Arnold's psyche, I think, is important with this. And that was a big talking point going into the season. And then we saw him really elevate his game against Baylor. That game was super important for Auburn. Like, Auburn had to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really impressed with Jackson. And then what we saw against Oklahoma, he's got to throw the football. Like, I don't know if that's like a psyche thing, but it is something that has been continually a concern throughout his career. And we heard a little bit about it during fall camp. Is that because it was in a big game? Is that because it was on the road? Like, I don't think so, but I still think it's a little too early to tell. But if you had to give the edge to one of them, I agree. I would give it to Marcel Reed.
Well, so here's my question. and maybe you don't have the answer, but
I'll try. I'll say something.
Is the game still moving too fast for him in terms of the passing game, or is it a situation where, because I feel like his receivers are getting open because he's got a really good wide receiver group. I feel like he hasn't necessarily been he hasn't had a lot of confidence in throwing the football like into a tight window. It kind of feels like it has to be wide open for him to make the attempt.
Yeah, I don't know if it's moving too fast or not, but like it does seem like he's horrified to turn the ball over. Like that's what it seems. Which you want to protect the football for sure. Hugh Freeze mentioned this. I mean, he's mentioned it several times. I'm pretty sure he mentioned it this week at his presser too. Where like at some point you just gotta let Cam Coleman or Eric Singleton go get it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's a guy on him, but that guy was a true freshman who couldn't cover Cam unless he grabbed him, So like at some point you just gotta you gotta like let Cam Coleman go get it.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if it's a moving too fast thing, but like that part hasn't clicked yet.
There's something to be said for quarterbacks and trusting the receivers to make a play. Yeah. And it's kind of, you kind of have to have a symbiotic relationship with your receiver in the sense that I'm going to put the ball in an area where I think you can win. It's not always going to be wide open, but I'm going to put it in an area where I think you can win if you attack the football. And if you do that, especially with Cam Coleman, I feel like he's going to win 95% of the time. So
I'm with you.
Yeah, man. Just you don't want to turn into Brett Favre or like DJ Lagway against LSU where you're throwing 5 interceptions, but
sure,
you need to let it rip sometimes. Trust your receivers. The worst thing a quarterback can do is turn down a good opportunity, and I feel like he did that a few times against Oklahoma, and that's something that Marcel Reed hasn't been doing this year. He's just been letting it rip. I think he's gotten kind of lucky that he hasn't gotten picked off more.
Okay.
But it's kind of, I guess it's a little bit easier when you got Mario Craver just screaming down the sideline 10 yards ahead of everybody.
Guy's good. Concepcion's good as well. I mean, both these guys have really good options to throw to. No question about it. All right, who wins this thing? We take a stab at it next on this crossover edition of Locked on Aggies and Locked on Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's only more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, time for picks and predictions. Sounds like we both think this is going to be closer than 6.5 points based on your comments earlier. I'm going to go 31-27 Texas A&M.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in a similar area. I was going to say 38-35,
okay,
or actually 38-34. I think there's going to be a couple field goals in there for each team. It's just like I don't see any scenario in which Texas A&M can completely slow down this offense. And as much as I don't like Hugh Freeze, which I have a long history with Hugh Freeze in my past, the guy knows how to coach.
I mean, who does like Hugh Freeze outside of Auburn at this point?
That's probably true. But the guy just he produces offense, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, for sure.
I just feel like they're going to be able to score a lot of points. It's going to be close, man. And A&M fans are going to walk in there and think they're going to blow them out because Auburn's unranked, but that's a really good unranked team, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, there's been the rankings have been so inconsistent on like what's valuable and what's not, and like when a team is still good even though they fall out of the rankings when they don't. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think Auburn's done more than some of the ranked teams, especially with how they lost to Oklahoma. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, to me, I think this goes down to if Auburn can jump on the Aggies like they did last year, I mean, I think it kind of would change everything. Where they were up by like 17 or 21, those 3 scores, and then A&M just kind of chipped away at it, and then it was overtime after overtime after overtime. I think it's going to be a similar feel, man. I think both teams are going to kind of have their streaks in this one just because of the nature of what these offenses are capable of and the mismatches I think that both offenses are going to have on the other side of it. Another element of this, as we mentioned, A&M's receivers. One of Auburn's best players, Jay Crawford, did not play last week at corner. I think that's going to be important. I don't think Oklahoma really took as much advantage of that as they probably could have. If I'm just being fully honest, I'm curious to see what Texas A&M does with that because they have the guys to kind of maybe capitalize on a potential mismatch there.
Yeah, their offense has been super aggressive in throwing the football downfield, so I imagine that's something that they're going to try to exploit. I feel like Oklahoma didn't do that because John Mateer broke his hand.
Right, which now that makes sense.
Which we didn't know that until yesterday, but he played most of that game with a broken hand, so maybe he just wasn't being as aggressive as he otherwise would be.
Yeah.
Colin Klein has been extremely aggressive offensively this year, at least through the first 3 games. I imagine that's going to continue. He's going to take a lot of shots with Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion and Terry Bussey and try and exploit whatever mismatches he has in the secondary or, any open soft spots created by an injury or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we both have A&M winning in a close one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Let us know in the comments down below who you think will win this. Would you take the Auburn plus 6.5? I think we're both kind of sitting in that area right now. Give me your potential player of the game here on the A&M side, and I'll give you an Auburn one, and we'll wrap it up.
Man, it's really hard not to pick Mario Craver every single week until he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with him. I think that he just has a way of finding the soft spots in his zone and then catching the ball in stride and taking it to the house at least once a game. So
yeah,
until I'm proved otherwise, he's going to be my MVP for Texas A&M every week.
Yeah. Obviously Cam Coleman and Singleton are going to be relevant, but I'll go Jeremiah Cobb here. He's kind of ascended to be Auburn's running back one. There were a lot of questions on, is this going to be a running back by committee type thing? Who's going to ascend? They all had the same amount of touches in week 1 against Baylor. And then Damari Austin got hurt. And so Jeremiah Cobb has kind of been thrusted into this larger role, and he's really answered the call. I think he should have gotten more touches against Oklahoma last week, but I kind of understand why they wanted to not run it against that front 7. But I'll say Jeremiah Cobb, and then I'll also say Malcolm Simmons. He's Auburn's number 3 receiver who's exceptional, but he hasn't really broken through or had a breakout moment yet in any point this season. Do they try to, all the attention's on Cam and Eric? Could, Malcolm kind of be uncovered or something? So I'll throw those two out there. Matt Galatzan, for all the Auburn folks watching, how can they check out everything you've got going on?
Well, I'm the host of Lockdown Aggies. You can catch us every single day on our YouTube channel, on our podcast. I'm also on X at Matt Galatzan, and I run the Texas A&M Aggies on SI website as well. So come check us out there if you're an Aggie fan.
Yeah, and if you want more Auburn stuff, just check out Locked on Auburn, the same place you checked out Locked on Aggies. We are there. For Matt Galatzan of Locked on Aggies, I'm Zach Blackerby of Locked on Auburn, and this has been a crossover edition of Locked on Auburn and Locked on Aggies.